Hey, so welcome back to another episode of Whip Wednesday. So work in progress. So what are we working on this week? So as you can tell, I'm still trying to work through my uncomfortness of speaking, basically. So I find myself sitting in one of the chairs we have here in my home. So episode two. So last week was the intro, and just to keep it real as we possibly can, man, I just want to talk about relationships. So how has building relationships been impactful and been influential in my life? So you go way back to the time when I was a little kid, if you will. My father and I, we had a very strong bond, and that bond, that relationship, if you will, was built, over the course of, many years, and it just started out with us, us hanging out. Yeah, father and son should have a strong bond, a strong relationship. But, what it looked like, so we hunted together, we fished together. He taught me different, activities, different traits, if you will, different skills, different abilities. And, we continue to build that bond. We continued to build that bond, up until the point in time, whenever I was in high school. And whenever I was in high school, some unfortunate situations arose. And my dad, probably one of the closest friends that I had, he wasn't around anymore. Occasionally, so he took a job to provide for the family, and he wasn't around as much as what he was whenever I was a younger kid. So, from there, I just kind of learned on my own. What relationships look like. How I built relationships, or even how I didn't build relationships. Because just to be very frank and very blunt, I wasn't very good at them. I wasn't very good at building relationships. So, I go through high school, play sports. Yeah, there's some relationship, character building, if you will, through sports. But I didn't. My circle was very small, because I didn't like getting out of my box. So I had built a box, and I kept everyone at, within that box, that circle. So, met my future wife whenever I was a sophomore in high school. Again, we hung out. We built a relationship. Obviously, but about in my early 20s, we got married, and about 7 years later, there was a void. There was a gap, and what it was that I didn't know what a relationship looked like in a marriage. I didn't know what a good relationship looked like. Um, you know, my verbal skills, my communication skills were very poor. Again, I didn't like getting out of my box, so something finally clicked in my life that I had to understand that needed to build a relationship. So this was like 7 years after we were married, and I don't know if you ever heard the term, burn a bridge. Anybody that knows anything about burnt bridges, it takes longer to rebuild them than it does to burn them down. So I went into rebuilding mode. Uh, you know, I believe two people, or most people, want two things in life. They want to be cared for, and they want to be respected. So that's where it went. I had to care for her. Even if she was doing things that I didn't like, I had to care it. I had to respect. If there was something that needed to be communicated, I needed to do it in a level of respect. Go on, I'm in the workplace. I'm in an environment to where I really didn't have to talk to a whole lot of people. Well, then I took another job. I went into more of a supervisory role, production coordinator, And man, I didn't know how to talk to people very well. So I knew what I went through with my wife, and finally it clicked that, man, I have to build a relationship. So one thing led to another, and I went to full blown, caring and respecting. Again, most people want two things: they want to be cared for, they want to be respected. And me myself being a man, one of the toughest parts to understand or to wrap my head around was that most of that caring for and respecting has to be done out of love. It has to be. So, we talk about our faith. Look, we weren't suitable as just one. We had to have a suitable helper, and that's what the God designed. He designed a helper. When Jesus sent the disciples out, he sent them out in two by two. He sent them out in two by two, so they would have somebody to hold them accountable, but yet they would also have someone hold them, support them. So, relationships is a major key. And I feel that the more you become comfortable with building relationships, and no one really becomes major comfortable with it, and a lot of times it just starts with asking questions and listening to people. Hey, how was your day? But be prepared for them to tell you exactly how their day was. Hey, how's your family doing? And then be prepared for them to tell you how their family is doing. Again, another realization that I've came to, the older I get, sometimes people are going to tell you stuff that is uncomfortable for you to hear, for you to listen to. It could be a death in the family. It could be an illness in the family. It could be a trial that individual is going through. It could be a job loss. It could be anything, that is tripping us up. And again, like I talked about, in the first episode, it doesn't matter, if you're 3, you're 5, you're 10. This message is for everybody. Even this is something that I tell my kids, tell my children, which are now almost 16, my youngest, and then my oldest is 19. Learn how to talk to people. Learn how to listen. Care for people. Understand what they're going through. Respect them. And sometimes, man, you just have to care and respect people where they are. So from there, that's the big one. Again, I'm trying to keep the messages between 5 and 10 minutes. We're creeping up a little around 8. And relationships, build them. Understand what it takes. Stay uncomfortable throughout the course of your life, and you will continue to grow, and you will continue to be a work in progress. So again, the question for the week: what are you personally working on? Comment on it. Let me know. Shoot me a DM. You can find me on multiple different platforms, if you will. So again, I'm just kind of creeping into this, but don't hesitate to reach out, throw me some comments, and continue to be WIP.